Recording in progress.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will soon start our symposium. So if you please kindly take your seat. There are empty seats in the front. If you can kindly just come to the front and fill it in. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. The honorable guests, speakers, presenters, and participants joining online and offline here in Yogyakarta, welcome to the International Symposium on Wildlife Biodiversity Conservation. It's a great honor for me to be here with you all. Please allow me to introduce myself. I myself is a wildlife veterinarian, actually. My name is Siska. I'm also, hopefully, I'm a passionate conservationist. So it's a great delight for me to be here in this room with all of you and share the same passion in biodiversity conservation. And this symposium is all about that. We are gathering here in this room to share with each other, to listen to each other, support each other, and hopefully by the end of this whole event in the next 3 days, we can come up with multidisciplinary collaborative projects among us. I see there are many distinguished experts, stakeholders who are really passionate about biodiversity conservation in Indonesia and globally. This international symposium is hosted by the Faculty of Forestry, Gadjah Mada University, and the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of the Republic of Indonesia. We would also like to express our gratitude to our sponsors who have contributed on this event. They are the Directorate General of Conservation of Natural Resources and Ecosystem, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, the Directorate General for Enforcement of Environment and Forestry Law, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, the Director General of Watershed Management and Forest Rehabilitation, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Peatland and Mangrove Restoration Agency, Asia Pacific Resources International Limited, or APRIL Group, GF Combating Illegal Wildlife Trade by UNDP, Borneo Nature Foundation, Tapro Botanica, the Journal of Asian Biodiversity, Fauna and Flora International, Copenhagen Zoo, Kaleka Indonesia, Yayasan Action Indonesia, and last but not least, PT Pesona Indonesia. To kickstart our 3-day symposium, we will first have the event report from our chairman of the organizing committee, which will then be followed by with a welcome remark from the Dean of the Faculty of Forestry, who will also do the honor of officially opening the symposium. So may I kindly ask Dr. Rar Silv Sandi Nurfianto, SUT MSc IPM, as the chairman of the organizing committee to take the stage. Please welcome Mr. Sandi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Excellencies, Dean Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Bapak Sigit. Excellencies, Deputy Minister of Environment and Forestry of the Republic Indonesia, or the representative. Excellencies, Director General of Natural Resources and Ecosystem Conservation, or the representative. Excellencies, Director General of Law Enforcement, Gakum. Excellencies, Director General of Watershed Management and Forest Rehabilitation, or the representative. Deputy Director, Excellencies, Deputy Director and Corporate Affairs at April. Excellencies, General Secretary of the Society of Indonesian Environmental Journalists. Excellencies, Head of Forest Resource Conservation Department, Silviculture Department, Forest Management Department, and Forest Product Technology Department, Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Gadjah Mada. And Excellencies, all of the speakers and participants. I am pleased to welcome you to the first International Symposium on Wildlife Biodiversity Conservation, or ISWBC 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that is certain is in this life is uncertainty. We are in the period of mass biodiversity extinction. Although the world has been constantly changing, what we are witnessing right now goes beyond what we have seen before. The sustainability of our planet has never received more attention than it does today under this climate crisis. Vulnerability to natural disasters has increased tremendously during the past 40 years, and their effects disproportionately affect poor people. Natural disasters such as storms, especially tropical cyclones, floods, drought, forest fires, and landslide, affect the poor more severely because they are often forced to live in the areas that are more susceptible to natural hazards. Climatic variables are increasingly considered a determinant factor in the development process. It is now well recognized that many developing countries, particularly in the tropics, are more exposed to extreme events, and that they are likely to be more vulnerable than countries in the other regions. This is especially relevant for poor households living in these countries because, in general, their livelihood count on a much lower adaptation capacity. The most vulnerable are the poorer social groups whose subsistence depends on the environment in which they live. Under the pressure of climate change, the environment is responding in many different ways, some of which are difficult to foresee. Due to the change in environmental pattern, existing problems are exacerbated and new ones can appear. As a consequence, many vital factors for sustainable development, such as water and food supply, health, infrastructure, natural ecosystem, are seriously endangered. Ladies and gentlemen, our planet sustainability largely depends on its wildlife because wildlife is a gardener of our vast ecological system. Unfortunately, many species of animal, plants, and other organisms are disappearing through direct and indirect human activities. Given this critical situation, this is right time for wildlife conservationists all over the world to work together for each other benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of the Republic Indonesia to host the first International Symposium on Wildlife Biodiversity Conservation 2023. This 3-day event is a platform for discussion and knowledge sharing on wildlife ecology, conservation, and management on facing the climate crisis. Wildlife conservationists are aware of the consequences of the current state of wildlife conservation. However, the general public might not be as aware as we are. I believe this is the right time for us to start conservation with the greater collaboration. We, as wildlife conservationists, hold the responsibility for greater and more meaningful campaign and cooperation with the broader range of stakeholders. I wish you every success with this important symposium, and I look forward to learning about the outcome. Let's convene for wildlife sustainability for us, for the earth, and for all life on this planet for now and for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to join your most exciting conservation event. Let your experience be shared, be heard, be practiced. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Sandi Nurfianto. And now I would like to kindly invite Engineer Sigit Sunarta, MP, MSc, PhD, IPU, the Dean of the Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Gadjah Mada, to present his welcome remark and open the symposium. Prof. Sigit, please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semuanya. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Your Excellency, Vice Minister of Environment and Forestry, Republic of Indonesia, or his representative, Head of Peat and Mangrove Restoration Agency, or his representative, Director General of Natural Resources and Ecosystem, or his representative, Director General of Environment and Forestry Law Enforcement, or his representative, Director General of Watershed Management and Forest Rehabilitation, or her representative, Deputy Director of Society of Indonesian Environment Journalists, Head of Department of in Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Gadjah Mada, all speakers of International Symposium of Wildlife Biodiversity Conservation, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Discussion of the critical issues of climate change and its impact on wildlife conservation is really important thing to us. It is clear that climate change is not just a distant threat, but an ongoing crisis with severe consequences for both environment and the human and animal population that depend on it. The interconnection between climate change and wildlife conservation cannot be overstated. As we already know, rising temperatures, habitat loss, and altered ecosystem are putting immense pressure on wildlife population. This, in turn, has ripple effect throughout entire ecosystem and poses challenges for the survival of many species. Ladies and gentlemen, efforts to combat climate change are essential, and it is heartening to see countries like Indonesia setting ambitious targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Programs like the Volunetzing 2030 initiative play a crucial role in mitigating climate change by promoting sustainable land use and forest conservation. Wildlife conservation also has a vital role to play in this fight. Protecting and preserving natural habitat is not only essential for the survival of countless species, but also for the sequestering carbon and maintaining ecosystem stability. Biodiversity is an integral part of our planet resilience in the face of environment challenges. Symposium and discussion like this one are essential for raising awareness, sharing knowledge, fostering collaboration among various stakeholders. It is heartening to see academic institutions, government bodies, and organizations coming together to address these complex issues. As we delve into symposium, I am sure we will hear about the latest research, conservation effort, and innovative solutions to address the challenges posed by climate change and its impact on biodiversity in Indonesia and around the world. It is through such collective effort that we can hope to find ways to protect our planet. It is diverse ecosystem and the species that call it home. Thank you for organizing this important event. Faculty of Forestry, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and the Minister of Environment and Forestry, and all sponsors which support this event, namely April Group, GEF, UNDP, CIWT, PRGM, PNF, Taprobanika Journal, Kalika Indonesia, FFI, Copenhagen Zoo, Indonesian Action Foundation. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the discussion ahead. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
May I please kindly ask Pak Sigit to also officially open the symposium by hitting the gong?
International Symposium on Wildlife Biodiversity Conservation officially I open.
Terima kasih, Pak Sigit. We have finished our opening ceremony. Now we will soon be moving to the first plenary session, which will be held here in this room. Before that, we kindly invite you to enjoy some refreshment outside. We will have about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we will back here in this room at 9:40. Please enjoy. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
kita dapat melihat lalu start
chick, 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 low, chick, 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 low, chick, 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 low, chick. Chick, chick. Chick, 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 chick.
Kevin. Yang di Vin?
Ki lagi jemput saya iki. Argo wis mari iki. Gareng gawa tok angkut.
Ayo gendang kok sih banget kan orang rampung.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we will soon start our plenary session. If you could please kindly return to the room.
Recording
Thank
in
you.
progress.
Panitia bisa bantu kumpulkan peserta yang belum hadir, yang belum masuk. Mintanya.
Bisa di copy nggak?
Copy ke flash disk, terus nggak ke delete di flash disk. Hello, are the speakers going to sit and speak or they stand up at the podium? For the plenary. Yeah, okay. So, 4, 3, 6. It's like it's happening.
Oh, yang Nairobi itu gimana sih?
So welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your short refreshment. And while we are waiting for the in-person participants to gather into this room, I just would like to say hello to our online participants. Do we have any online participants, committee? Yes, okay. So hopefully our online participants are also tuning in both on Zoom and YouTube and can enjoy and contribute to this symposium.
soalnya nanti kalau substansinya kan ada yang siap siap ya. Ini sih anak kasih juga kasih bilang tadi bayar dulu berbuka. Ini mau ini dulu
So thank you very much for coming back into this room. We will start our plenary session now. Please allow me to introduce the chairperson for this session. Please welcome Mr. Doni Gunaryadi. Mr. Doni is currently the head of the FFI, the head of Team Biodiversity, Fauna and Flora International Indonesia program. His professional experience extended over a number of years and posts. Before joining FFI, he was consultant for WCS Indonesia program in Bukit Barisan Selatan, Waikambas, and Gunung Leuser landscape. He also had some experience as a large mammal expert on high conservation value assessment in a number of companies in Sumatra. His research expertise are mainly in human-wildlife conflict, especially in Sumatran elephant, as well as Sumatran elephant population biology and conservation. He has published in several peer-reviewed scientific journals. Mr. Doni Gunaryadi, the plenary is yours.
Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome to the International Symposium on Wildlife Biodiversity Conservation, Planet People and Biodiversity Toward Prosperous Future of Humanity. So I'm Doni Gunaryadi, as being introduced by the MC, that I will be the chairperson for these sessions. And in this main plenary sessions, we will have 6 speakers that 4 speakers will be coming here, will be attended here, and then 2 speakers will be online. And for our speakers, there are a number of speakers. First, from the Director General of Law Enforcement. Committee, could please show the slideshow. General for Law Enforcement and Environment and Forestry, Dr. Rasio Ridosani, MCOM MPM. And also the second one will be Director of General of Natural Resource and Ecosystem Conservations. But in this session will be represented by the Director of Biodiversity Conservation, Genetic Resources, Ibu Dr. Hewan Indra Eksploitasi Semiawan, MSI. And then the third speaker will be the Director General of Watershed Management and Forest Rehabilitations, represented by Director of Soil and Water Conservation, Dr. Muhammad Zainal Arifin Asud. And 4 is Head of Forest Resource Conservation of Faculty of Forestry, Gadjah Mada University, Dr. Rernat Insinyur Sena Adi Subrata. And 5th is from Society of Indonesian Environment Journalists, or CH, Secretary General, Bapak Joni Asyura Putra. And the last one, from Riau Andalan Pulp and Paper, Mr. Prayitno Gunarto, MSc, as the Ecology and Restoration Department Manager. So I would like to invite all the speakers to be in the front. So in here, as a chairperson, I'll be chairing this session, and which will run from now to 12 o'clock. Hopefully we will not get late. And there will be 6 talks, and every speaker will have 10 minutes for the talk, and then after that will follow by question and answers. So first, maybe I would like to ask Mr. Pak Rasio Ridosani. Halo Pak, can you hear us?
Ya, halo, ya Pak Doni, selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi Pak. So thank you for attending the the symposium by online. So could you please start the talk, Pak? It's about 15 minutes talk. Thank you very much, Pak.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Doni. This is how long, Pak?
15 minutes, Pak.
15 minutes. Let's check which minute, Pak. Ini bahasa Inggris, Pak, ya?
Iya, Pak. Aku nggak bisa kelihatan.
Kelihatan slide saya, Pak?
Iya, kelihatan, Pak.
Kelihatan ya? Sorry. Sebentar, Pak, ya. Saya lagi atur dulu. Nah, caranya. Ini kok nggak kelihatan ya? Nggak gede deh.
Dua kali, Pak. Stop share.
Stop share tadi. Dua.
Share lagi, Pak. Share screen lagi. Oh, ini yang dibuka dulu, Pak.
Bukan. Sebentar, Pak, ya. Mohon izin, Pak.
Siap.
Buka Zoom-nya, Pak.
Oke, Pak.
Baik.
Kelihatan,
Bisa,
Pak, ya?
Dirjen?
Baik.
Baik.
Thank you, everybody. First of all, I would like to thanks and really appreciate my sincere appreciation to the host that organized International Symposium on Wildlife Biodiversity Conservation, especially Dean, Faculty of Forestry, University of Gajah Mada, and all distinguished participants. I would like to share our point of view regarding how can we implementing or conducting wildlife protection in Indonesia in more effective ways. As we aware that Indonesia is a country has abundance of natural resources. Yes, we have one of the largest tropical forests, and we have also known as a mega biodiversity country, including terrestrial and marine biodiversities. However, our wildlife it is also under threat. As we aware that all of us know, every day our wildlife is under threat by many activity, such as illegal logging, illegal plantation, illegal mining, forest fire, illegal poaching, and illegal trade. We are not taking serious efforts. This threat will destruct our biodiversity. As we are aware that biodiversity is one of our comparative advantage in Indonesia. Then, based on our work, this threat still occurs. Yeah. So far, we have conducted almost 500 operations for protecting wildlife, and also we bring about 400 and more criminal case, and then so many animals seizure and body part of animal seizures. It's showing that it is based on our work, our wildlife is under threat seriously. Our work so far may be only 5% from the current existing threat. This means that we have worked very hard to protect our wildlife from illegal poaching as well also illegal trade. This is our work together. We cannot do it alone. We have to work seriously in fighting against illegal wildlife trade as well also illegal poaching. This is so far we can see our work on this. It's so that all this picture show to us is our illegal wildlife is under threat. That's why we have to work on this very, very serious. And then what is the characteristic of the wildlife crime? Wildlife crime is very serious. It is serious impact to our environment, to our people, as well also to our state. As wildlife crime it can create environmental disasters. I know that most of the participants in this symposium, it is mostly conservationists, and then they know very well about how important of our wildlife. If there are intensive wildlife crime, for example, in many highest predator Indonesia, wildlife crime related to the birds. Yeah, if birds is gone, and then it will create another disaster. Yes, bird spread the seed, yeah, and then we will have a challenge, we have a problem with our forest, sustainability of our forest. And also, if many people hunting many highest predator Indonesia, and then we'll create another problems that cause many ecosystem problem Indonesia. And also, this wildlife crime create environmental services laws, state income laws, because we know that state also have got income from our wildlife. As I mentioned before that, our forest, our life is a source of our comparative advantage. Not many countries have the same wildlife or also biodiversity like Indonesia. And then we thank to the God, actually, God give us opportunity to manage this wildlife for our welfare, as well also for our comparative advantage. And in many cases, also wildlife crime create also special conflict and also social conflict. It is a high profit based on our research, and however, still low risk. That's why the threat from wildlife crime still high in Indonesia. In addition, also wildlife crime, it is organized crime. Yes, it's not only involving it's a group in Indonesia, but also in many cases also this is involved many other entities. Based on our recent operation, we find also many wildlife crime backed up by different actors, as well also transnational actors. Wildlife crime is really complex and dynamic crimes. The modus operandi change time by time using the technology. Our teams work seriously to monitor, for example, the trade, illegal wildlife trades now, not using the conventional market. They go to that online or e-commerce. And also this will be changing time by time, how this crime works using the technological development. It means that we also need to work much smarter than all the criminals that conducting illegal poaching as well also illegal wildlife trade. Ladies and gentlemen, all the participants, in addition to that, it is a complex and dynamic typical of crime. As wildlife crime also, it is a cross-sectoral crime. It's interlinked with many other crime. Yes, you can see that also the include with the custom, yes, quarantine, as well as corruption and money laundering. Dealing with this kind of interlinked crime, we need a really strong strategy so we can overcome these crimes in more effective way. And then actually we have very strong mandate and authority in conducting law enforcement, especially related to the wildlife, because we have a lot of governments, a state, the state already issues or developed many instruments and law regarding to wildlife, including wildlife conservation law, forestry law, environmental protection and management law, anti-money laundering, including anti-money laundering, because it's forestry and environmental crime, it is predicate crime of money laundering. this is give us more power actually to enforce wildlife crime in more effective way, because all the crime related to natural resources, including wildlife, the motive behind it is a financial advantage or financial gain. It means that all the gains getting from wildlife crime, it should be related to the money laundering. In addition to compensation law, environmental protection law, anti-money laundering, forestry law, there is also many other law related to the law enforcement of wildlife crime, like custom, quarantine, as well also farming and animal health. What is the challenge so far? I think this is symposium. I know that symposium, there's so many participants, yes, and then this from many experts. So far, we'll based on our experience, we saw that at least the problem, the challenge of wildlife protection in Indonesia, first it is there is unintegrated policy implementation. This means that we don't have yet the integrated approach in fighting against environmental, fighting against wildlife crime in order to protect our wildlife in Indonesia. There is no effective collaboration among stakeholders. Based on this challenge, I think we need approach, what we call it integrated approach through mixed policy instruments, as well also multi-layer collaboration among stakeholders. This is very important. We work together. Yeah, we have to using the integrated approach to fighting against environmental, to protect our wildlife from wildlife crime. What is an integrated approach on wildlife protection? I think we have to apply all the instruments in order to protect our wildlife. Yeah, from prevention, we have worked very hard in prevention activity, not only for law enforcement, because in many cases people always blame on lack of law enforcement or weak of law enforcement. In fact, no. If we want to protect our wildlife, we need a really integrated approach. Yes, it's using multi instruments in protection of wildlife. Yeah, we have to define what actually in prevention we have to do it. Yeah, for example, we have to do wildlife habitat security. In many cases, illegal wildlife or wildlife crime happens because it's our wildlife habitat security problem. It means that we have to working together with conservation partner society. Yeah, we have to enhance our patrol. Yeah, we have conducting a snare operation because it happens in many situations. This is the poacher using snare, and also prohibition of the use of guns and another weapons. Based on our experience, for example, a couple weeks ago, there is intensive operation in National Park of Jungkolong. There is many people using what do you call it, homemade rifles, and then air homemade rifles. It is I think we have already collected more than 345. It is that what do you call it, homemade rifles, and it's also very, very dangerous to our wildlife. In addition to increasing wildlife habitat security, we also have to strong campaign on demand reduction, consumer awareness, or also alternative source of non-habitat animal and plant, as well also strengthening conservation institute or activities. This approach is very important because we know that now it is many people using an animal as for gaining income from their show, as well also from the social media platform. Yeah, we have to fight against this condition. Yeah, so we can reduce the demand reduction. If we can protect or increase the security of the wildlife habitat, as well also demand reduction, for sure we can increase we can reduce the challenge or the threats to our wildlife. In addition to prevention, I think another approach we have to work together, it is regarding to trade governance. We have to controlling the supply chains, yeah, to improve our legality verification system. This is also the big challenge. I think we can learn from the woods, yeah, legality verification system, or SIPU, for example. Yeah, this also help to reduce what you call it, the laundering for our illegal wildlife. But I know that it's not easy to improve the system. But this is no choice. This is one way we can control the supply chain. It is through the strengthening the legality system. This is the improve the governance system, very important. Yeah, to reduce the demand as well also to reduce the laundering of our wildlife. In addition to improve strengthening legality verification system, I think the inspection of conservation activity also, including also harbor and monitoring, we have to improve. This is the way we can reduce the illegal wildlife trade. Last but not least, I think law enforcement. We do believe that law enforcement is one of the instruments, but what law enforcement not the answer for the challenge we face so far. Even many people think that, as mentioned that before, if we see that the problem from wildlife or forestry problem, environmental problem, they are always blamed on the lack or weak of law enforcement. In fact, not. We have to look on in systematic ways. Law enforcement, it is the only small part of the instrument that can improve the protection of wildlife, yeah, or forestry as well as environment. Yeah, in order to more effective way in protection our wildlife, we need really integrated approach from prevention, governance, trade, as well also law enforcement. This is, I think, the most important thing we have to do it. I hope that through this symposium, we can discuss seriously about these matters, this approach, integrated approach based on multi-layer on wildlife protection. We can, in order to strengthening this approach, yeah, of course, we need science and technology, decision-making support system. This is very important. Yeah, science and technology will make us making decision in more accurate and what do you call this, more we can increase our speed and more fast, as well also the result is more accountable. In addition, using the science and technology in decision-making support system for protecting wildlife protection, we also have to promote multi-layer collective governance. Why? As mentioned that before, the challenge from wildlife protection, it is complex and dynamic works. In dealing with complex and dynamic works, we cannot work alone. We have to work together with many multi-actors. Yeah. For example, if we want to protect, if we want to increase the security of the wildlife habitat, we have to work together with the society. We have to together with scientists. Yeah, we have working together or collaborate with many other actors that have a power or authority regarding to protecting the wildlife habitat, including the local government, as well also demand reduction. We have work closely with many actors. Yeah, for example, yeah, we can work closely as we know that many trade now regarding to wildlife, illegal wildlife trade using online, based on online or e-commerce. It means that we have to work closely with that ministry or also the platform or the social media. So far, based on our team, because we have a civil patrol in the Gakum KLHK, we monitor a lot of illegal wildlife trade using social media platform. And then based on our monitoring, we work together with, for example, Ministry of Information and Communication to take down the account. As well, also, we can talking with many others people who can support us to the social media platform. As well, also the same with the trade governance. I think this is one way we have to do it. We have to work together in order to reduce the laundering, as well also illegal supply reduction. This is very important approach. I think we have to work together to improve the governance of trade related to the wildlife. Last but not least, law enforcement also. We cannot work alone. We will have to work together with many agency has authority in law enforcement, including police, attorney or prosecutors, as well also many experts and either from university, academician, or expert practical who work with many conservation institute. Last but not least, I think because I know my time is only 15 minutes, I think multilateral collaborations, now time for us, we strengthen multilateral collaboration. For sure, through this symposium, we can work together. Now also, I think that the time for us to establishing digital governance in order to increase or reduce the laundering, as well also to involve the many actors in monitoring the illegal activity from wildlife trade, illegal wildlife trade. As well also, I think we have to strengthen the multiple legal framework, working together with many agencies, including agency within the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, with Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Marine and Fishery, Ministry of Finance, especially DG for Custom, and as well also working with international agency, because illegal wildlife trade, it is not only within Indonesia, international, but also transnational. I think, thank you. This is my presentation. I hope that we can improve our way to protect our wildlife, because wildlife very important for Indonesian, not only for Indonesian, for the world, and for our people welfare. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Dirjen Parasio. Yeah, I think some of the key messages that we would like to involve during these plenary sessions. One of that about the multi-layer, multi-policy approach that maybe part of that, the other speaker can also give some input. Pak Dirjen, could you please still in the room until the discussion, maybe?
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
Thank you, Pak Dirjen.
Ya.
So,
terima kasih teman-teman semua ya.
Yeah. So because of the time type, I think the next one will be the other speakers from the Directorate of General and Natural Resource and Ecosystem. In this time, I would like to invite Dr. Hewan Indra Eksploitasi Asemiawan, MSc, as the Interim Director of Biodiversity Conservation and Genetic Resources, and also the expert staff to Ministry of Environment and Forestry for a food section. Bu Indra, yang online, Mas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pak Doni, thank you very much.
Yeah. Would you like to share
Okay,
any?
I want to quick. Yeah, sure. Can you? Can I get the share screen permit for that, so I can share my presentation?
Sure, Bu. Yeah. Okay, I think you got the share screen now.
Okay.
Okay. As I said before, you have 15 minutes, Bu.
Okay,
for
because
time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because I have only 15 minutes. Hope I can finish my presentation in 15 minutes. Pak Doni, you send me a topic this morning. So I adjust my presentation in the 3 area of the topic that you have asked me this morning. So because our topic is very broad, consisting about the biodiversity conservation and related how follow nesting 2030 with the biodiversity and the next National Biodiversity Strategic Action Plan. So I will make my presentation, make it quick. So next slide, please. Yes, we have already know that the biodiversity conservation consists at the 3 level, the level of ecosystem, genetic resource, and species, with the principle of protection, preservation, and sustainable utilization. And it means conserve means to protect it, study it, and utilize it. Next. So I want to emphasize, for the next slide, please. I would like to emphasize more on the genetic resource, because we have already known about the conservation of the ecosystem and species. We have already a global conservation policy at the level global and in the regional. So we have already known that the Ramsar Convention, World Heritage Convention, Man and Biosphere Reserve Convention, and the Convention Biological Diversity emphasize of the protection of the ecosystem and species, and also for the genetic resource. And in CBD, especially in CBD, there's an aim that the conservation of biodiversity, also for the sustainable use of the biodiversity, and especially for the genetic resource. They mention about the fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising from the utilization of genetic resource. So in the under the Convention of the Biological Diversity, there are 2 protocols organized for the biosafety, precautionary approach to use modern biotechnology, and Protocol Nagoya, organized for the access and fair, as well as the equitable profit sharing in the genetic resource utilization. In the level of species, we have already known that there is a convention organized for the wildlife trade, namely the Convention International Trade on Endangered Species. In the level of national, we have already, next slide please. In the level of the national, we have already regulation organized for the what we call the protection, preservation, and also the sustainable use of the biodiversity at the 3 level. There are law number 5, law 1990, and then number 5 2004, and etc. And the last thing is we have already regulation issuance by the president instruction number 1 2023, that biodiversity mainstreaming in sustainable development. This is the latest regulation that how we can mainstreaming the biodiversity into the policy of the sector in Indonesia. Next slide, please. So when we call the biodiversity, we have already known, but the biodiversity is crucial for our life and economic development. So it is an urgent need to conserve biodiversity. So we have found that biodiversity degradation caused by habitat fragmentation, invasive species, overexploitation, pollution, and climate change should be protected and conserved. Then right now we have a policy that we have to change our paradigm. Our paradigm right now, that biodiversity is right now as a cost center. Right now we have to transformation the paradigm of the conservation as a profit center. So there is a transformation sustainability utilization of the biodiversity using the genetic resource and the traditional knowledge related to genetic resource. So we have already known as well all genetic materials and or genetic information of plant, animals, microorganisms, and other origin, including its derivative, which contain functional unit of the heredity, which has real and potential value. Then contain for the genetic material and derivatives, genetic information, and traditional knowledge relating to genetic resource as well. So what is traditional knowledge is related to genetic resource is the knowledge, innovation, or individual related to genetic resource or derivative of which have real and or potential value. This is the transformation, this the era of change the paradigm of the biodiversity as a cost center to biodiversity as a profit center. Next slide. So this is the bioprospecting evolution. So that I have already mentioned in the era of the industrial, that the area of 1990, massive utilization on biological resource, unsustainable propagation, and harmful toward ecosystem. Move forward to the biodiversity era in the 21st century on embracing biological diversity value and ecosystem-based approach, and move forward to sustainable development, that vision approach towards sustainable economy, environment, and biodiversity in the development and industry. So this could make a development of the sustainable financing and scale the value and the biological diversity and compensate the ecosystem to achieve sustainable cycle. This cycle is an era that we have to move forward, that biodiversity as a profit center. Next slide. So the genetic resource we call it as the bioprospecting. It's definition of if the genetic resource used as a commercial, using the genetic resource as a commercial use. That is different between the utilization of genetic resource between non-commercial and non-commercial and commercial. So non-commercial is using for the research and also for the study of the wild species, study of the crime evidence forensic. That's a non-commercial of the utilization of the genetic resource. And meanwhile, if we are talking about the commercial use, the bioprospecting, so it's produce a vaccine, isolate of growth, promoting bacteria, anti-aging, skincare, that is hair care, and etc. is using the technology development and other commercial purpose. So the genetic resource utilization for bioprospecting needs an in-depth research to reveal the potency, hence corporate or company often engage research industry or establish research and development division within. So this is the prospecting, how we could accelerate the economic value of the biodiversity through the bioprospecting and through the utilization of genetic resource as well. Next. So the next slide. I would like to emphasize that the biodiversity as a national asset. Biodiversity is not just a commodity. So it's an asset and a basic capital for sustainable development. So we have to consider the biodiversity, including genetic material, considered as an asset and property right of Indonesia, which in line with the Nagoya Protocol. The value of the genetic resource utilization in the form of commercialization, or we call it bioprospecting, can be a source of sustainable funding for conservation costs for species and genetic protection in their natural habitat. So any activity to take sample of genetic material from animal, then the activity must pay attention to the principle of animal welfare and animal health code involving medical conservation, and access to end utilization genetic resource must be followed not only by benefit sharing, but also by access to technology from outsider who access it. So the development of downstream industry in Indonesia is related to the use of genetic resource that produce finished product and minimize the use of materials by outsider. So this is the principle. So we just not see the biodiversity as a commodity. So we have to see that the biodiversity as an asset. So we have to protect as our property right and our asset for Indonesian nation. Next slide. So this is a potential of bioprospecting, ladies and gentlemen. So we have abundant genetic resource as bioprospecting, and we have promising world market. So we have big chance that the concept of nation holding property right to their indigenous peoples, or we have only local community in Indonesia, as political negotiating tool between countries with rich biodiversity and the pharmaceutical industry from developed countries. So we can see what we have, Indonesia have for the biodiversity, and we can see what is the market in Indonesia, in others in outside Indonesia for the promising market for the biodiversity. Next slide. So I would like to change the topic, and the first topic is for the bioprospecting, how we can use the bioprospecting with the wisdom, and how we can use with the sustainable in accordance with our regulation. So what is the related with the climate change? So Pak Doni mentioned that we have to see that the biodiversity not just as an only goods that in the our wild nature, but how the biodiversity could make a difference with the climate change. What we do with the biodiversity and climate change. So our ministry has already launched what we call the follow netting 2030. There are 4 mitigation action target in the follow action, and in the area of the prevention of deforestation and mineral and peat degradation, sustainable forest management or enhanced natural regeneration, increase in carbon reserve on non-rotation, and peatland management restoration. In the area of sustainable forest management and increase in carbon reserve, there are 2 areas that we intervene in the area of the climate change. We call open area management and conservation partnership, and including the species and genetic conservation should be an attention in the follow netting 2030. So what is the area of the species and genetic conservation? We have already, next slide, we have already identified some of the provinces with the high conservation value area. So we intervene with the activity, activity of the mitigation action, and there are 31 province that we have allocated budget for the intervention for the biodiversity conservation at the level of species and genetic resource. And this area is a high conservation area that we have already identified and verified as the high conservation value. And the next slide, Pak Doni also asked me how to interlink the biodiversity in global to national planning on biodiversity. So this is the third area that I have already mentioned, that the bioprospecting is the first is the bioprospecting as our chance, our move forward, how to make a sustainable development to change the paradigm of the cost center to profit center. And the second is how to link the climate change. And the third, this is the third area that we have prepared, how national planning on the biodiversity into the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework that have already launched in COP, the last COP, and last COP in 15 in Kunming, China, in Montreal. So there are three goals from CBD. The goals in the conservation of biological diversity, the sustainable use of the components of the biological diversity, and the fair and equitable sharing of the benefit arising of the utilization of genetic resource, and then translate to the 4 goals and 23 targets in the mission in 2030 and for achieve in the vision of 2050. So these 4 goals and 23 target, and then translating to the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, or we call it NBSAP. And in NBSAP, next slide, please. And in the NBSAP, we translate to, next slide. Yeah, in the next slide. So what's wrong with the slide? Pak Doni, have you seen my last slide for the national target?
Yes, you can see that.
Because I have seen that the slide is not moving, isn't it?
It's moving actually from the previous one. And now we are seeing the national target.
Okay, I will continue.
Yes, thank you.
So this is my slide that you can see that the International Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework translate to the what we call NBSAP. So we have 22 target, and also we determine four goals, yeah, and then related to the Kunming and the national, we have already adjust with the target in the CBD and the target in the national target. So you can see in the 2 slide in my presentation, and next slide. The last slide also mentioned, also you can see the last slide mention about how we can have already adjust the Kunming-Montreal Biodiversity Global Biodiversity Framework with the IBSAP, or Indonesian Biodiversity Strategic Action Plan, or National Biodiversity Strategic Action Plan. It's the same common abbreviation, IBSAP and NBSAP. So this is the last slide. I ending my slide with the quote from, I know that this is the anonymous. Last slide, please. Make it quick. Okay, growth and prosperity. This is the tagline. Biodiversity is an asset. Sustainability, the asset, is balancing how we can balancing ecology and economy. Thank you, Pak Doni.
Thank you, Bu Indra. Applause to Bu Indra. And we can see it's a very broad aspect in for the biodiversity conservation, and also related with this conference. And from the first speaker and second speaker, you can see that as a microbiodiversity country, that there are some also huge aspect that need to be safe as well. And then part of that in here, we can see the potential bioprospecting, also how that our government prepare for the national NBSAP and others. But for the next speaker that we are in here, there will be another 4 speakers that hopefully the timing is quite enough in here. And then, which partly related to the practices and also the way that each of the speakers would like to concentrate on that. The first one maybe I would like to invite Dr. Muhammad Zainal Arifin, which will talking about the watershed, yeah. And then maybe after this followed by Pak Prayitno, because maybe it's related with the restorations and how the company also support the biodiversity conservations. And then maybe after that, we will see that how the university can support also put in place on the biodiversity conservation side research and others. And the last but not least, how the journalists can also give us some feedback, influence, and all the challenge that we have so far. So the time is yours, Pak Zainal, for 15 minutes.
Check. Distinguished guests, honorable TGs, also esteemed researchers and biodiversity enthusiasts, and also other honorable attendees that attends today in this symposium. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I deeply honored to represent DGs of watershed management and forest rehabilitation today, attended today here in this conference. So last night I called Pak Sigit, the Dean, what should I be focused? Is it wildlife or biodiversity? So he said you should you should focus on biodiversity. So I will talk about biodiversity in general. So my presentation will be conserving biodiversity through forest and land rehabilitation initiatives. This is what we are going to do on the next future, a landscape approach to biodiversity enhancement. But Doni, I kindly difficult to see so if you allow me, I will stand here. So next slide, please. So in this presentation, next slide, I will be firstly describe the importance and threat about biodiversity in general, and then maybe a short description about what we do in rehabilitation initiatives through what we call landscape and biodiversity approaches. And finally, I will show you a video that show us about the integrated efforts to watershed management and biodiversity conservation. It is about 6-minute video, so Pak Doni, you have to remind me my remaining time. If it is still, I have still, maybe it's 6 minutes. So I will represent my presentation in 5 minutes. So next slide, please. So when we talk about biodiversity, so one of my friends told me that when we walk about 100 meters in the forest, we will see thousands of biodiversity. You can see in front of the stage, you can see a few. There's more than just 10 species of the plant. So we are talking about the incredibly huge, diverse species. So it's minutes. Also in the huge, lots of interaction, lots of interdependence. So, and indeed, it's highly dynamic also. Surely it's dynamic. So let's say when we talk about ecosystem stability, ecosystem services, genetic resources, what Ibu Indra told us before, it rely on biodiversity, indeed. And also, when we talk about the economic benefit, the climate change mitigation, scientific knowledge, etc., everything is relies on the interdependent on biodiversity. But on the other hand, biodiversity also faces threats from various factors. As we know that our national development is now still depend on more than 68% of our natural resources. So it is threats the biodiversity. So we will facing habitat destruction also, and deforestation, the climate change, and etc. For example, last 2 weeks, I had the opportunity to go to Hessen Forest in Germany. They say they are currently facing a deadly fungal outbreak. They say it is because of the climate change. It is fungal outbreak that is affecting the significant portion of the native species. So the spores, as the native species there, is mostly dead because of the fungi. So, next slide. Given these circumstances also, we are now implement the forest and land rehabilitation activities that is carried out in landscape and biodiversity approach. So we have to be able to implement more applicable, cost-effective, and socio-cultural acceptable type of rehabilitation. So now a few rehabilitation initiatives like what we do in landscape approach for conserving the land and water resource. So it could provide the opportunities for wider uptake for the biodiversity. And also to complex forest stand. So when we do the rehabilitation, we develop the forest structure into a complex forest stands, the multi-species, the multi-strata, and also by introducing other endemics, natural regeneration will be conducted. And also we are now focusing on soil biodiversity. So soil biodiversity is really important for sustainable the intensification of rehabilitation, because soils contains a large variety of organisms which interact and contribute to many global cycles to maintain the biodiversity, especially in our duty to monitor the post-mining reclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, also we are now using many types of rehabilitation, such as agro-silvo ecosystem. So it's really a forest-like agroforestry, and also the silvopasture, and also other type of rehabilitation. And the last but not the least, this is the very important things. We have to create the public awareness. Also support from partnership, collaboration with the private sectors, as well as the community involvement. Next, so according to that, all the initiative above, so we are now trying to implement the integrated approach. At least there is 5 integrated efforts that we do in sequence actually. So first of all, we are trying to restore the soil, because we know that the soils is the landscape for revegetation. So we are trying to focus on soil restoration and also seed mass production as the key factor of successful revegetation. And then we are trying to find the reference from the ecosystem and the habitats near the rehabilitation site. So it is the way to find the very adaptive species when we trying to rehabilitate the land and the forest. And of course, we are trying to maintain the ecosystem sustainability through the productivity and equitability of the land. And then surely we are trying to do the new technology for developing and monitoring and evaluation. And most of all, we have to once again, we have to empowering the community to build a social security for the forest. Now, when we talk about our integrated and collaborative efforts, I would like to make the example what we have achieved on Forest Program 2. So Forest Program 2 is a cooperation between Indonesia and Germany, and it is carried out about 8 years ago. This year is actually the last year of this project. Now it's also carried out by several program implementing units that work in integrated scheme. So we have at least 6 outcomes for this project. Actually, the project is titled Development of Biodiversity Conservation and Integrated Watershed Management, which is we are trying to increase the forest cover. All of the outcome is over the target. For example, the forest cover from the target 6,000 hectares, we are reaching 6,447 hectares. Also, we are improving the water quality and quantity. Now, maybe the wildlife conservation here, the flagship species is elephant and tigers. We are using the thermal drone to reducing the significantly the human-wildlife conflicts there, and also to maintain the population, the number of population. Next slide, please.
You still have 5 minutes, but
Yes, okay. So I have to go with the video, I think. The next slide. So this is the site from the Bukit 30 National Park and the Kerinci Sebelat National Park. And this video will show you how we are doing the integrated and the collaborative efforts of rehabilitation in terms of biodiversity conservation. Please, after this.
Indonesia has always been home for abundant landscape of nature through all time and to anyone who knows her, that offers countless beauty and endless wonder. Then, how should a harmonious relationship be developed between human and nature? And now, I have found the answer here. In Jambi province, in the wilderness of a tropical forest, there's a program aimed at maintaining harmony between human and nature. As an effort to conserve biodiversity and manage integrated watershed. From flora and fauna preservation to community welfare in buffer areas. The forest of Jambi is a habitat for Sumatran elephants, one of the special animals that is critically endangered, thus it enhanced conservation efforts are required. Today, an information center for elephant conservation has been built in Tebo Regency as one of the efforts to resolve conflict between human and wildlife in order to coexist and share space harmoniously. Many has been implemented in this program. Animal upkeep to mitigate human and elephant conflict, environmental education for the community, species research and development, economic empowerment for the local community, management of the Elephant Data and Information Center, as well as supporting elephant ecotourism in its natural habitat.
Kalau dulu itu kita dengan gajah itu menganggap gajah itu sebagai hama, tapi kalau sekarang kita menganggap gajah itu sebagai teman. Terutama kita itu kan udah diajari, udah dikasih materi supaya kita tahu gajah itu bisa hidup berdampingan dengan kita.
Kami setelah begini ya 40 sampai 60 hari sekali kita panen. Proses jualnya kami jual ke BKSDA yang punya gajah itu tadi.
Di PKG kita ada gajah latih 5 ekor, 2 ekor itu gajah jantan berasal dari Taman Nasional Bekambas. Kemudian 3 gajah lainnya, gajah betina itu berasal dari Balai KSDA Sumatera Selatan. Di PKG kita ada sarana dan prasarana pendukung, mulai dari kantor atau gedung pengelola, kemudian ada mes mahot, selanjutnya ada mes tamu, ada instalasi pengelolaan limbah dari gajah latih, kemudian ada kandang jepit, ada kandang sosialisasi, selanjutnya ada klinik, dan ada gedung serbaguna.
Within the elephant's habitat, there are activities on the demonstration plot of land of Gradual Forest Restoration Program as a step to rehabilitate social forestry areas that have already been planted with palm oil trees in order to restore forest ecosystem with agroforestry patterns. The agroforestry program is one of the key efforts in rehabilitation to increase the forest and land benefits, because humans, as it should be responsible for critical land by making conservation efforts for natural ecosystem.
Kami diberi insentif dari tahun pertama, tahun kedua, tahun ketiga untuk menanam kopi kayu manis Surian. Selain itu kami difasilitasi untuk membentuk koperasi yang anggotanya terdiri dari anggota kelompok tani yang sekitarnya wilayah Gunung Raya. Kami selaku kelompok tani merasa berterima kasih atas bantuan itu. Kami merasa bersyukur, sangat senang sekali. Sebelumnya kami tidak ada apa-apanya. Setelah dibantu kami sangat merasa bersyukur.
Kami dari kelompok tani hutan Kokara Bening mengajukan izin perhutanan sosial bersama FP2 pada tahun 2017 dan disahkan pada tahun 2018 berupa hutan kemasyarakatan. Setelah mendapatkan izin, kami membentuk kelompok usaha perhutanan sosial
Thank you very much
Bukit
for
Puau.
your kind of attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the presentation, Pak, and part of that because this is the things that also part of the example and how the area that degraded, and then also part of how to restore. And part of the restorations, next one, I would like to invite Mr. Praito Gunarto from RER, Riau Ecosystem Restoration, to give the presentation. Time is yours, Pak, for 15 minutes. So while preparing the presentations, Praito Gunato actually working for Riau Ecosystem Restorations as part of the April group, and he is as the Ecology Restoration Department Manager. He is also the bird watchers. Okay, you have the slide presentation. Okay, you may maybe. Ada? Okay. Okay, I think while we are waiting for this, maybe you can a bit explain about RER itself, and then what kind of initiative that you have so far before your slide presentations.
Okay, well, thank you for the organizing committee for organizing this event. I'd also like to extend my thanks to April Group for allowing me to represent the company and to present on how the private sector can contribute towards biodiversity restoration and protection. Perhaps as a brief background, RER is a restoration program sponsored by April, where we seek to restore over 150,000 hectares of degraded peat swamp forest in this area. Okay, perhaps I'll just continue. Perhaps in setting the context of the issues we're currently facing, we are in the midst of what some would call the sixth mass extinction, where over 1 million species are now faced with the prospect of declining populations and the possibility of extinction. Given the complexities and the impacts of climate change regarding this issue, everyone, including all stakeholders, must participate in tackling this challenge and issue. And as such, the private sector has an important role in tackling conservation and climate change mitigation. Next. So perhaps as a brief introduction, April is a company that manufactures pulp and paper products sustainably. We are one of the largest companies in Indonesia, and we also have a lot of plantation areas located in Riau, as well as offices in Singapore and Jakarta. Our commitment towards climate change mitigation and conservation is highlighted by our commitments to no deforestation, conservation and restoration, continuous reduction of our carbon footprint, as well as empowering local communities. And these policies are extended across our supply chain. We are also committed to conserving the environment. So with our one-to-one commitment, we are committed for every hectare of plantation. We are also committed to conserving, protecting, and restoring at least an equivalent area of forest area. And finally, through April 2030, our commitments also extend financially, with every $1 per ton dedicated to conservation area based on our production and processing of pulp and paper. Next. So part of our commitment includes April 2030. In this commitment, we have 4 different aspects in which we try to address climate change mitigation as well as conservation initiatives. With climate positive targets, we seek to transition our energy use to sustainable and largely clean energy sources for our mill and fiber operations. We also seek to transition ourselves to a carbon net zero future. With thriving landscape targets, we seek to protect conservation areas and the biodiversity within it, mainly through addressing the illegal wildlife trade, as well as advancing tropical peatland science. With the inclusive progress target, we also seek to advance and empower communities through increased equal opportunities and participation. We also focus on promoting quality education in the surrounding areas and eradicating extreme poverty. And finally, through sustainable growth, we hope to increase circularity, mainly through increased material efficiency as well as waste reduction. One of April Group's large commitments include Restorasi Ecosystem Riau, which I will explain briefly. Next. So Restorasi Ecosystem Riau, as I mentioned before, consists of 5 ecosystem restoration concessions. These are spread across 2 landscapes, the first being the Kampar Peninsula and the second being Pulau Padang. In these areas, you can note that there's a plantation ring surrounding this core peat swamp area. Using this production protection landscape model, we could see that the inner core or the protection area is surrounded and buffered by the production area. The activities which is buffered from include illegal wildlife trade, illegal encroachment, and forest fires. The production area surrounding the protection area also provides a source of funding, which is important considering that ecosystem restoration concession licenses last for over 60 years. This represents a long-term commitment by the company financially and strategically. Next. Given the vast area of conservation area, why is it important for us to protect it? One of the largest, or personally one of the most important reasons is its incredible biodiversity. Over 800 species have been recorded in the area, excluding herbaceous vascular plants, 101 of which are protected by the government of Indonesia, and 13 are considered critically endangered. Every year, through a variety of monitoring techniques, whether they be camera trapping or aerial surveys, we are constantly recording new species, and we hope to contribute to new methods in science, whether it be through species range expansion or through even describing new species through science. Next. One of the success stories that really highlights the need for collaborative efforts is the release of Karina, a Sumatran tiger. Following her rescue, rehabilitation, and eventual release, this project represents collaboration between government organizations, NGOs, as well as the private sector. Using a GPS collar, we are able to detect and monitor her movements across the landscape. And crucially, this provides us with information on how tigers or wildlife utilize different habitats at a landscape level. The insights provided through this study are quite novel, given that not many releases of the Sumatran tiger have been done in peat swamp forests, but it also gives us insight on how to potentially mitigate human and wildlife conflict. Next. Climate change and biodiversity are inevitably linked. April is committed towards understanding the impacts and potential effects of climate change based on different landscape use or different land use. Using 4 greenhouse gas monitoring towers, April has begun to investigate how different land uses contribute to climate change, particularly with greenhouse gas emissions. Furthermore, through RER, we understand that carbon and peat stores a lot of potential carbon. Therefore, through hydrological restoration, RER is focused on closing canals and creating dams in order to re-wet peat. And so far, this commitment towards climate mitigation is also reflected by the fact that in almost 10 years since 2013, the RER area within the Kampar Peninsula has not experienced any significant fires.
You have 5 minutes back.
And finally, in tackling such complex issues such as climate change and conservation, it is impossible to do it alone. We need the support of local communities. Programs aimed at increasing community participation, understanding, are important to April. One of such programs include the Fire-Free Village program, in which communities are incentivized to find alternative land clearing methods that do not include fire. And as such, the program has successfully engaged over 77 different communities in the surrounding areas. Next. And in conclusion, given the vast complexities faced with addressing climate change and conservation, it is imperative that all stakeholders collaborate and try to find transformative and innovative solutions to these challenging situations. Also, it is important as stakeholders that the private sector leads and contributes towards this local empowerment and tackling issues as we transition towards a net zero emission future. And finally, the target set around April 2030 involve scalable commitments towards biodiversity protection that are able to change and hopefully empower sustainable livelihoods and local communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Prayit. So you're exactly 50 minutes. So we can see that maybe since the first speaker and then move along to Pak Prayit, we can see that some of the there are very good ingredients for the next symposium after this, and partly because we talk quite broad things, and then but we can see that there are some of things that may be discussed in this symposium. But maybe part of that, some initiative also needs kind of support from multi-stakeholder and also university, and also we can see the journalists. The last two speakers we would like to invite. First is Dr. Renat Insinyur Sena Adi Subrata from Gajah Mada, from the head of Forest Resource Conservation of Faculty of Forestry, Gajah Mada University. So the time is yours, Pak, for 15 minutes.
Distinguished guests who attending this meeting, both online and offline. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera buat kita semua. It's very great pleasure for me to standing here to share with you what we have in our Departemen Konservasi Sumber Daya Hutan Fakultas Kehutanan. On behalf of this department, I would like to share with you in this session about how we view the biodiversity conservation and the future of the humanity, and also what we have to do, what we have to do in the last few years about the innovation on how we conserve biodiversity. Okay, next slide please. Next slide. Okay. From the previous speaker and many news, we know that biodiversity right now is being threatened. We know all this news every day, even in not sometime we attend meeting that not related to biodiversity, but sometimes we also hear that biodiversity is being threatened. All these problems actually very complex. This complexity is due to the huge diversity of Indonesian microbiodiversity. It means that we have many biodiversity and we also have many interaction, and we call it complex. All this complexity rooted from the growing demand of natural resources. We know that our population in the earth day to day, time to time is always growing. It means that we also need more resources to exist in this only one earth. Therefore, when we would like to think to solve the biodiversity problem, we should address also the root cause. It means that when we would like to address the biodiversity conservation, we should address also the human need to exist in the earth. Previous slide, please. Okay, here I present you the conceptual framework that we have in our department, how we view, how we see the biodiversity and the humanity. This conceptual framework is actually not only work for biodiversity in certain ecosystem, just for example forest, but this is applied to general ecosystem. As an ecologist, we always start with observing the structure of the ecosystem. This one, the structure, and after we know the structure of the ecosystem, we move to the function of the ecosystem. And after we understand the function of the ecosystem or part of them, we move to the ecosystem service. This one, the ecosystem service in the center, this is the most important one that the many people talk about it. I would explain first about the supporting system. This is the most important thing among the ecosystem service. We frequently heard that ecosystem service consists of 4: supporting system, provisioning, regulating, and control system. But actually, supporting system, or in Indonesia we call it sistem penjaga kehidupan. This is the first one, that the most important one. Supporting system, it means that the ecosystem provides some nutrient cycling, soil formation, primary production, and after the supporting system is established, then the supporting system will support provisioning, regulating, and cultural value. So this is the ecosystem service that are very important. And after we understand the ecosystem service, we move to the benefit. It means that something that some people got from the ecosystem service, and after they got the ecosystem service, they get the values. This is the general scheme that we in our Department of Forest Resource Conservation conduct and understand how we should manage the ecosystem. And for that, we have some laboratory in our department. First of all, we have lab ekologi hutan, pengelolaan satwa liar, and pengelolaan daerah aliran sungai. This laboratory dealing mostly with structure and function of the ecosystem. And another laboratory, lab pariwisata alam dan pengelolaan kawasan konservasi, mostly working at the benefit and value of the ecosystem values. This is our perspective and our organization. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Next slide. Okay. We see biodiversity is only part of the ecosystem structure. We put the biodiversity in this red box. So, biodiversity is only part of the structure of the ecosystem. Either it's functional, either it's genetic, species, or landscape. All this biodiversity, we put it in this small part of this whole scheme. The next, please. Next slide, please. And then this is more scientifically. Okay, after what I want to show you that we put biodiversity only in this start of the scheme. It means that biodiversity is the basis of all the ecosystem service, benefit, and value. Next slide, please. Next slide. No, previous. Okay. What I want to say that if we would like to address the biodiversity crisis, biodiversity problem, we should start with what is biodiversity is and end it with the value. This is the important thing that we understand, that we view how we should resolve the biodiversity crisis. Next slide, please. Okay, what we do in our laboratory, in our department, is that we would like to create innovation that practically achieve the value. It means that what all the innovation should end it at the values, and scientifically acceptable. It can be policy, modification, both biotic, abiotic, and social. Next slide, please. Okay. Next slide. Next slide. So, we should do some innovation by engineering both biotic, abiotic value, abiotic and biotic component to create value. Because innovation have to create positive value, otherwise it will be useless. So any engineering, biotic engineering, conservation biology engineering should be ended in the value. What I mean with value is that value is a perception of human about the benefit that he or she get from the ecosystem. So just for example, if we would like to create some innovation, just for example, if we would like to create some regulation, the regulation should be end up in the value that will have by the human. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. And the second one, the second criteria that we would like to innovate is that it should be scientifically acceptable. Next slide, please. Next. Okay. We break down all these steps into 5 steps. In each step should be evaluated. When we evaluate each step, it means that our research. So actually, if we would like to do some research, we should consider that where the position of the research. Just for example, if we would like to evaluate in this one, it means that biodiversity belong to this step. So if we would like to conduct some biodiversity survey, it should be include what the function of the biodiversity. And the example is if we would like to do some biodiversity structure assessment, biodiversity assessment function, and we should also consider the ecosystem service that we would like to have. All these steps moving until to the value. If we would like, recently we use high technology for monitoring. Just for example, we use molecular approach. Also we use drone, we use data logger, telemetry, and any other recent technologies. Next slide, please.
You have 5 minutes, but.
Okay, thank you. I would like to give you some example what we have done. First example is about the policy. We have already done some or assess local people to conduct local regulation practice to avoid illegal logging or illegal wildlife. And another example is we also doing some modification how we plant mangrove to avoid abrasion and also provide some fish nursery. And we also do some abiotic modification. It means that we would like to create some soil and any other technique to avoid erosion, soil erosion. And we also doing some social engineering to campaigns about the conservation of flora and fauna. Next slide, please. And this is my last slide. We are also recently doing some Rusa Timor study about factor that influence the successful of the captive rusa deer. We also have done some genetic assessment of the rusa deer, including the microbiome of the rusa deer as a potential disease transmission. We also doing some bioacoustic to assess biodiversity and to create some early warning system. Okay, this is what I can show you about our organization and innovation. Hopefully what I share will attract you to collaborate with us, because we always happy, always welcome to any collaboration, either in scientific collaboration or also in practical application. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Pak Sena. Just 30 minutes actually. And we can see that maybe from the first speaker until Pak Sena, that we can see that some of more from the helicopter view, and then the way that the policy coming and then becoming in the other speaker, how to do that on the ground. And Pak Sena show us also how to do that kind of innovation step by step, and at the end there are some examples that can be implemented on the ground. So the next one, I would like to invite Mr. Joni Aswira Putra from Society of Indonesian Environmental Journalists as Executive General. Time is 15 minutes.
Thank you, Pak Doni. Good morning, all, and thanks for the Forestry of Faculty Universitas Gadjah Mada. We are happy and great for me get the chance and this invitation to sharing about our perspective, our concern on environmental journalism. So I want to start the next slide. Maybe can next slide, next, 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 next again, again, next, next, next. Yes, I want to start from here, this slide. What the challenges and opportunity the journalism on mainstreaming climate issue and environmental, including the biodiversity and conservation issue. Next. Yeah, I will explain the generally the challenges on mainstreaming climate issue generally. Yeah, if we talk about how the public attention about the climate issue, environmental issue, and biodiversity, we will talk about the public awareness. This is one of the challenges. Public awareness on climate issues is very, very small. So the next challenges is climate issue polarized by politics sentiment. I will explain it in the next slide. So this is very, very urgent and crucial for us now in our business. The challenges platform and business media platform. Purposely, if we talk about the convergence media. One of the strategy to survive for the traditional media, that traditional media have some other platform such as online website and multimedia platform. But now digitalization make the media will be sunset industry. So especially if we talk about the advertisement, previously media is publisher, media is distribution, content distribution, but now media is only publisher as a publisher, and the distribution, content distribution controlled by digital platform like Google, Meta Group, and others. So that media industry must join with the platform scam. If the media must talk about the rating, page view, and others, while the keyword for the climates, keyword for the conservation keyword for biodiversity until now very is small in the digital platform. So the next challenges, climate issue or conservation on biodiversity, scientific base for us, and so that make the gap on dissemination of issue from the expertise to public. So the challenges, next challenges is coverage of climate issue and natural resources or biodiversity need high costly. Why journalists must access the remote area and meet the more people and frontliner buffer and at buffer zone location. So while the attention from public reader the article or the viewer of the videos is very small. So the challenges, limited access to data and expert, and so this is very important for us. The challenges with the journalist capacity. Me and all journalists, generalists, not specialists. So we need to knowledge. We need to insight to understanding the issue for the for the environmental report impactful. So climate issues and biodiversity or conservation not friendly with algorithm, and so the challenges, of course, safety aspect. We know if we report, if we cover the natural resources or environmental issue, usually related to the economic activity. There is actor. Sometimes the activity there is scandal, controversy, conflict, and others. Therefore, for us, safety journalists, one of the challenges for mainstreaming the issue. Next slide. Media affirmative. If maybe I show you the three issues. This is Aris Hazar with Bapak Luhut Binsar. Why the issue get attention from media? Because the issue related to the prominent figure, controversy, and conflict.
5 minutes.
Okay, so what does conflict? Also related to the figure public, and until now the issue in Jakarta is still hot, related to the magnitude or the proximity in having in Jakarta. Next. Next. This is knowledge knowledge, public knowledge about climate change.
Indonesia.
Yeah, Indonesia. Yeah.
Number 6
So,
from
yes.
below, yeah.
So next slide. Yeah, I show you the recent YouGov that's Indonesia more hike the perspective Indonesian people about the climate change. So next slide. I show you about the research from the Reuters Institute News Media report on 2021. Proportion who pay attention to each source for climate change news, and from media only, only 33% from the all the respondent around the respondent around 40,000 around the world, and the public get the climate change more from the documentaries, TV or film. And in Indonesia, I show you that around the 30% Indonesian people access climate change information from the news. Next slide. Next. Media on conservation and wildlife. We based on the experience, all journalists and media use the approach cover the conservation and wildlife issue. Illegal trade or wildlife crime focus. So we use the approach the supply chains. We approach the method of lifestyle angle perspective, lifestyle mindset. So approach with the law enforcement, conflict, and education.
Yeah, you have 1 minute.
Okay. Maybe final slide. Next. Next. Yeah. Purposely. Yeah. Maybe we see the opportunity and strategy. The opportunity, we know the increased young people on climate issue. Awareness is very, very good. Based on the indicator politik Indonesia research 2 years ago, more the young people get attention the climate crisis awareness. So we have the opportunity related to the national determined contribution NDC and heads last year. So transition energy commitment and political years momentum. Why we mention political years momentum? This is the all candidate want to talk about the environment and talk about the climate crisis. How the strategies we find important for us to find, especially the expert, find the rubrication or media segmented for the climate issue, for the biodiversity and conservation. We also use the solution journalism approach, and sometimes we use the investigative report approach, and now the very important for us is how to create the content of issue content disseminated with the multimedia storytelling method, so optimize social media and community engagement. I must stop here.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Johnny. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we would like to have, of course, with the 6 continuous presentation, it's quite tiring, for sure. But maybe there are things that maybe we can discuss further. We still have about 25 minutes, and the first one, actually, I would like to ask the speakers one by one, just to want to have a fruitful discussion later on. But maybe we will give some chance to all of you to ask the question. We will have the first 2 questions. But before that, I would like to confirm, Pak Rasio Ridosani and Bu Indra, are you still in the online chat, or could you please committee to look at the account? Okay. First, maybe I would like to give the opportunity. There are maybe different participants here that coming to this meeting. Maybe I would like to ask 3 different representatives. If you want to ask, please raise your hand. Please inform your name and then from your affiliations. Anyone? Okay, 1, 2. Okay, so the committee, please share the microphone, or this one maybe.
Yes. Thank you, moderator. My name is Iwan Kurniawan from UNDP, and thanks to all the speaker, presenter. The presentation is very inspiring, a lot of knowledge and also lesson that we can took from this discussion. My question is about what is the best strategy in changing the behavior to support or to successful protection of the wildlife biodiversity conservation. I think this is quite important. A lot of the effort that has been conducted by the government, by non-government. So, yeah, the question is, what is the best strategy to changing the behavior at different level of the stakeholder? Thank you.
Would you like to ask to all speakers?
Yes, to all speakers,
Oh,
from
okay.
the journalists, maybe for the policy, and also for the private sector, on how to increase the commitment or sustain the commitment from the private sector in this area. Thank you.
Okay, second one. Ya, panitia silakan mic-nya.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Muhammad Tauhid Nur Salim from Gajah Mada University. My questions, especially for the Directorate General for Law Enforcement. In the presentation, I saw that there is a organized wildlife crime that mentioned about the political powerful people that come from the politician, maybe for maybe from military or elite military or something like that. How is the best strategy to eliminate or overcome the problem about the organized wildlife crime that involves the powerful people, like powerful people that come from this own country, Indonesia, and how effective the strategy to combat that wildlife trafficking. Probably my question is related to UNDP questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. So one more if you want, otherwise, okay.
My name is Nando from Borneo Nature Foundation. For questions, first I want to ask to Bu Indra about how to organize for between biodiversity and pollinating, and then how impact for the community. And second questions for all the presenter, how can community contribute for the biodiversity? Because we in here all the conservationists, and how can tell to the community for the conservation? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. So there are three different questions. The first question was Mas Iwan asking for all the speakers. This is maybe the first one that everybody can answer. What is the best strategy to implement for this climate change changing behavior? Yeah, and maybe we can start because maybe part of that related to the question from Pak Rasio, maybe related to that because Mas Tauhid asking on with the organized crime that's supported by the strong or evolved people. And then this is the things that maybe quite related. Maybe the question maybe goes to Pak Rasio first, and then followed by then the questions from Pak Nando from Borneo Nature Foundations on to Bu Indra and how to implement net follow things, and then how can community contribute to this plan. Maybe the first I would like to ask Pak Rasio Ridosani to answer the question. Please, Pak.
Terima kasih Pak Doni dan juga seluruh teman-teman speakers. Thank you, Pak Doni, and all speakers that already share their opinions, experience regarding to how can we protect our biodiversity. Now I'd like to respond to Mas Iwan, Dr. Iwan's question about the changing behaviors. My point of view is changing behaviors should be looked on the bigger perspective, because it related to the wildlife protection. I think there's so many ways to do it. Most of them is as we know that now this is at least two reasons why people utilizing wildlife, especially using illegal wildlife. This is first regarding to the thing that wildlife as a lifestyle also. This is very, very important. I think this I like what Johnny Aswira mentions, about how can you using social media to changing the behaviors, people who utilizing of wildlife. This is now this is with the big campaigns. This is person who think that keeping wildlife it is what it is new lifestyle. This is wrong. I think this is this is what we needed. Yeah, how can we change the mindset about the people look see that utilizing of wildlife, it is what do you call it, lifestyle, prestigious lifestyle. And the second about there is so many people also consume or use wildlife because they think that it is the wildlife really can solve the because the medical this health problem also medical, so traditional medical. Now I think we also have to involve many medical doctor to tell about this. This is not true. I think we really need a big campaign on the changing of the wildlife, and everybody also have to involve in this campaign. I think this is one thing we can do it, changing the behaviors of people who utilizing wildlife, either as a pet or either as a way they increase their what do you call it, lifestyle. And then I would like to also emphasize this about this is what we need actually to fight against this illegal wildlife in order to save our biodiversity. We really need this integrative approach, yeah, from preventions, yeah, demand reduction, also the governance system in the trade, as well also governance system in the conservation activities, as well also law enforcement. We really need this kind of integrated approach. What we call it is multi-instruments approach in order to protect our wildlife. So protecting wildlife, for sure, it will protect our biodiversity as well also the environment and go to the climate change and so on. It is that the way we do it. We really need to look in the integrative approach. And the second, how can we dealing with that power exposed persons? Yeah, this is one big challenge also. There's many ways to do it. I think the role of media also very important. Yeah, to expose this activity so they know that it is what do you call it, working with the illegal trade or illegal wildlife poaching. It is many people under scrutinize. It's watching by many people, and then based on our experience in law enforcement, yeah, that is we know that it's not easy. Yeah. What we do it, yeah, we work closely with many other agencies. Yeah, either with military, with this, yeah, in this and also police and many others actors also work together with them. Yeah, this is the way we have to do it, including for sure also we have to involve people, academicians like Pak Taufik and his colleagues, and then how can we work together to reduce the temptation and the opportunities is people want to get involved in what do you call it, this organized crime. I think that's all I think I can share to you. Let's work together. We sure that we're sure that we cannot fight against this illegal wildlife trade alone because this is complex, involving so many actors, and also we really need using all that instrument we have, and then this all and then we have to strengthen the enabling conditions so we can implement this all instrument is in more effective way. I think that Pak Doni, hopefully we can I can respond, yeah. What's Pak Iwan and Pak Taufik's what do you call it, concern. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you,
Pak Jainal.
Pak Rasio Ridosani.
Yeah, Pak Jainal.
Yeah. So the next one maybe Bu Indra. Hello, Bu Indra.
Thank you, Pak Doni. I'm just wondering why we should make a discussion in English, because I see that all the participants are Indonesian, Pak Doni.
Yes.
Just wondering.
Yeah.
Okay. The first question is about how to change the behavior among us. So I just want to make sure what is Pak Iwan said that we have to change our behavior rather than we talk about how to make all people aware about the biodiversity conservation, because I think that it's not just changing the behavior. Changing the behavior is maybe is not just our mind to set up that biodiversity conservation is an important thing, but also I think that attitude is also important. While we are talking about the biodiversity conservation, then we know that biodiversity is not just as an like how to act, like we love the animal, like we have to care the animal. It's not just like that. Changing the behavior also how to change the mindset of the how to facing the how we are facing the biodiversity, because I said in our presentation that the changing the mindset is more important than just changing the behavior. Changing the mindset is also change the mindset of like we see the biodiversity as a commodity, like we see that biodiversity is conservation is costly, etc. So we have to drift all this situation to the different mindset that biodiversity is an asset. We have to invest. We have to make that the biodiversity as a profit. So we can see that the biodiversity is not just important, but is like we see that asset is not just an important that we have to protect, but we have to see that biodiversity also could be used as a sustainable utilization. That's my opinion how to change the behavior. And I see that the change behavior is not just change the behavior, but we have to change also the mindset of the how we protect the biodiversity. And then the second question is about the how to engage the local community related to the follow netting, because like I said in our presentation that like an example, genetic resource is also associated with the traditional knowledge. This is a linkage between biodiversity with the local community, because traditional knowledge is also important how we can engage the local community, and how we can create and program an activity as a mitigate, as a program an activity to mitigate for the climate change. We can see that the biodiversity is not just only program and activity, but is also as an indicator for the follow netting. When we achieve the global target of the decision of the biodiversity framework, then we can achieve also the target and program target on the Convention on the Climate Change. So the target and indicator for the climate change is linkage with the global target in biodiversity. So we can see the linkage between the biodiversity and the climate change is not just only develop the program and activity for the mitigation, but also as an indicator the success of the climate, the success of the reduction of the emission of the carbon. Then we can see while we reduce the emission, then we can see the biodiversity would be improved as an important thing for the global climate change. That's my opinion. Thank you, Pak Doni.
Let's put the other speakers from Masiwan. I would like to ask first Pak Jainal for the first question.
Okay, I think
Thank you Pak Gandhi. So, halo Pak Roy, apa kabar? Salam sehat Pak Roy. What that have been mentioned by Pak Roy dan Bu Indra, I think what have been the question of Pak Iwan is underline one thing, the very first actor, it is us. It is the human being who play the roles to conserve or to restore. So the behavior is not the behavior about the animals. So for the example, for the elephant and human conflict, well actually we don't like to use the term conflict anymore. It's not good for the media, they say. So we use the negative interaction between human and wildlife. So when we talk about the elephant, they say that the elephant entering the human territory. Isn't that possible from the elephant mind? You are entering my territory. So maybe that's the mindset what Bu Indra said. So the changing behavior is coming from us. It's coming from the human who play the roles. I think that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Zainal. So, Pak Praitno, please. What do you think about how the changing behavior maybe applies in your area? Maybe.
I think in order to get or to motivate people for behavioral change, it's important to sort of understand the root cause of this behavior. So perhaps why does someone do illegal poaching, or why do they encroach on an area? Some of these problems boil down to the needs of the people and the basic needs being met. In this regards, April has already implemented baseline studies in order to try and understand the socioeconomic status of the surrounding villages. Because only once these root causes can be perhaps addressed to various stakeholders can we start thinking about changing the behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Prayit. So, Pak Sena, I think part of that maybe like Gajah Mada University, especially FKT, yeah?
Okay.
Maybe can because you have so many students as well, maybe changing behavior, not only.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. In my opinion, that how we can change effectively the behavior of the people is first of all we should using some real examples, real example that easily can be adopted by the people. Using media is one of the way that very effectively changes the behavior of the people. But also we should design the campaign. The substance is very simple, but many people can accept this idea that we should change your behavior, that you should not harm the biodiversity because the biodiversity is support our life. This is a short comment for me.
Yeah, thank you, Pak. And the last but not least.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as I earlier, increase the capacity from our side, increasing the capacity journalists is very important to understand what life issues and biodiversity protection. So because the journalists come from various background, not all have educational background in forestry, example, or biology. Then the need to be a bridge that connect media journalists with expert, and how the result of the research can be disseminated in a simple, easy way and directly related to the people's daily life. Then the need to be then the need to be an integrated data platform owned by expert that can be accessed by journalists.
and SAJ has been taking of the role of being a bridging for our parties to connect with each other. And yeah, it is also important that change the perspective, how we mainstreaming the risk perspective. If the ecosystem is damaged, what will be negative impact on the community? Yeah, that's from.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Johnny. And I think we are almost at the end of the discussion. Yeah,
Pak Doni.
Siap, Pak.
May I, yeah?
Yes.
May I add two sentence, Pak?
Sure, Pak. Sure.
I do believe that what Pak Jenal mentioned, Bu Indra and many others about the changing the mindset, yeah, to change the behavior. In our point of view, yeah, we still need law enforcement for creating deterrent effects. Is also one way to changing the behaviors that will work for. Thank you, Pak.
Things that I would like to ask every speaker actually on the last conclusion remarks, and I think Pak Rido just started. So, Bu Indra, do you have like conclusion? Sorry, not conclusion remarks. The sentence that you would like to share to us that you think quite important as a key message to everyone. Oh, bukan udah. Okay. Ya Pak, jadi sorry kan. Yeah. I think the last one. Thank you very much. We can conclude some of things that partly. First, we think that integrated approach on biodiversity and climate should be needed in here. We can see that from all the speakers gives some example, and also partly like Pak Rasio Randy mentioned just now on maybe approach on the multi-layer approach that can also be integrated and implemented in so many levels and layers. And also we think that also best practices, innovative that also can be implemented on the ground will be a key point to share the others about how important the biodiversity conservation and climate change mitigations. And I think, as I said before, maybe if you have last key message for audience, if not, I think your answer just now is the last message that we will share. And thank you very everyone for joining this plenary session. As a chairperson, I would like to thank to everyone, all the speakers, distinguished guests, and then all the committee that to make this plenary session happen. So applause to everyone, and then thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Mr. Chairperson and all the distinguished speakers for the inspirational talk and discussion. Before we dismiss ourselves for lunch break, I'd like to announce the afternoon agenda. So after lunch, we will have 2 parallel symposia, which will be held in this room. So I think the room will be divided into 2 smaller rooms, Arjuna 1 and Arjuna 2. And the Arjuna 1 will hold Symposia 1 under the theme of biodiversity conservation and climate change mitigation and adaptation. And then Arjuna Room 2 will hold the Symposia 2, which will be under the theme bioprospecting, biopiracy, and wildlife crime. So participants are welcome to choose whichever symposia that they are most interested in. They are also welcome to change room if they would like to, just be respectful of the flow of the presentation or discussion. Yeah, I think that's all. Allow me to encourage every one of you to continue the conversation about biodiversity conservation during lunch. Lunch will be served outside in the same area as the coffee break. We will back in the room, either Arjuna 1 or Arjuna 2 at 1:15. So thank you very much and enjoy your lunch. Thank you.
Recording stopped.